Once upon a time, in a small valley surrounded by tall mountains, there lived a young man named Elias. He was 26 years old, and everyone in the village knew him as strong and hard-working. He helped his father in the fields, carried heavy loads of wood from the forest, and even helped his neighbors when they needed an extra hand. On the outside, Elias looked powerful, but inside his heart there was a secret he carried with pain. His mind was always noisy. Every night, when the stars filled the sky and silence embraced the valley, Elias could not rest. His thoughts kept running like wild horses, never stopping. He worried about the future, about work, money, and the expectations of his family. He regretted mistakes from the past, words he had spoken in anger, opportunities he had missed, and people he had hurt. No matter how tired his body was, his mind never allowed him peace. Some days, the weight of his thoughts felt heavier than the logs of wood he carried on his shoulders. He began to ask himself, "If I am strong outside, but weak inside, am I truly strong at all?" One afternoon, while walking back from the fields, Elias heard two travelers talking near the village well. They spoke about an old hermit who lived deep in the mountains. The man, they said, was once a great teacher in the city. He had studied human behavior, healed broken hearts, and guided many to find balance in their lives. But in his old age, he left everything behind and chose to live quietly in a small wooden hut. They said people still went to visit him, people who were lost, confused, or restless, and somehow, after meeting him, they returned with peace in their eyes. Elias listened carefully, and something in his heart moved. For the first time in many months, he felt a spark of hope. That night, while staring at the restless stars, he made a decision. I must find this old man. Maybe he can teach me how to calm the storm inside. The next morning, Elias packed some bread, water, and a blanket. He told his parents he was going to the mountains to gather wood, but in truth, he was going on a journey for something much greater. For days he walked, climbing steep paths, crossing rivers, and sleeping under the open sky. His feet hurt, and his clothes were covered in dust, but the thought of finding peace gave him the strength to continue. Finally, after a long and exhausting journey, Elias reached a small clearing where a wooden hut stood, surrounded by trees and wildflowers. On the porch of the hut sat an old man with white hair and calm eyes. He was not reading a book, nor working, nor even speaking. He was simply sitting in silence, as if the world itself had paused around him. Elias approached slowly and said, "With respect, Grandfather, my body is strong, but my mind is weak. My thoughts never stop, and they tire me more than the hardest work. Please, can you help me?" The old man opened his eyes gently, looked at Elias, and gave a small smile. "So you want strength, my boy? True strength, not the one that only carries wood, but the one that carries peace inside? Then come with me, I will give you a task." The old man walked into his hut and returned with a small clay bowl filled to the very top with oil. The surface of the oil shined under the sunlight, so full that even the smallest tremor would make it spill. He handed the bowl to Elias and said, "Take this bowl. Walk down to the village below and come back here. But remember, if you spill even one drop of oil, the task will be failed." Elias was surprised. He had expected words of wisdom, not a strange task. But he respected the man, so he nodded and began walking. The path was narrow and uneven. Birds sang in the trees, children were playing by the river, and merchants were shouting in the village market. But Elias kept his eyes fixed only on the bowl. Step by step, carefully, he walked without letting the oil spill. His arms became tired, but he did not look around. His whole world became the oil in the bowl. When he finally returned to the old man, his face was sweating, but the oil had not spilled. With pride, he said, "Grandfather, I did it. Not a single drop is missing." The old man smiled and asked gently, That is good, my boy. But tell me, did you hear the birds singing? Did you see the children laughing? Did you smell the bread baking in the market? Elias looked confused. No, I saw nothing. I heard nothing. I was only looking at the bowl. The old man nodded and said softly, "That is the secret. Your mind was quiet because it had only one task, to protect the oil. All your worries about the past and future disappeared. You were present, you were here. That is true strength, not the muscles in your arms, but the ability to guide your mind into the present moment." Elias stood silently. His heart understood. What words could not fully explain. For the first time, he felt what it was like to be free from the storm inside. It was not about controlling the world outside, but about choosing where to place his mind. The old man placed his hand on Elias's shoulder. "Life will always be noisy, my boy. People will shout, dogs will bark, problems will come and go. But peace is not found outside. Peace is found when you decide to hold your mind steady, just like you held that bowl. The quiet secret of inner strength is already inside you." The sun began to set behind the mountains, painting the sky with orange and gold. Elias bowed deeply to the old man, gratitude filling his heart. He knew his journey had just begun, but he was no longer the same restless young man who had left the valley. He walked back with the bowl in his memory, carrying not oil but peace. And now, dear listener, I ask you, have you also carried a bowl of thoughts that keep spilling day after day? Maybe it is time to hold it steady, to focus on this very moment, and to discover the quiet strength that is already within you. If this story touched your heart, let me know in the comments what part spoke to you the most. Was it Elias's restless nights, the strange task with the bowl, or the final wisdom of the old man? I would love to read your thoughts. And if you believe this lesson can help someone you care about, share this story with them. Sometimes a simple story can change the way we see our lives. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring tales and powerful lessons. Until we meet again, stay peaceful, stay present, and remember, your greatest strength is already inside you.